Welcome to Study Time, a televised home learning program produced by Rwanda Basic Education Board.
Hello students, welcome to TV learning program. My name is Benon. I will be with the senior one students in biology. Dear senior ones, you're welcome. And I request you to actively participate in this lesson. I need your views. I request you to ask questions. At the same time, be ready to answer questions. And make sure you have your pen, you have your book, so that you write down important points of this lesson. Remember, at the end of the lesson, I will give you homework, and I expect you to do it nicely. Of course, you will do it nicely when you follow all the steps of this lesson. Dear students, our lesson is from Unit 13. Unit 13, which is puberty and sexual maturation. And then the lesson is number 1. The lesson is puberty. Objectives of our lesson are, number 1, to define the term puberty. Number 2, to explain primary and secondary sexual characteristics. Those are the objectives of our lesson. Please, by the end of the lesson, make sure you know what puberty means, when does it start, when is it likely to end, which changes do we experience when we go through that stage of life, and then how do we manage those changes which are very rapid, where we see changes in our body coming very fast, very fast. Now, dear students, allow me ask you this question. What is puberty? That is my question to you. I request you to give answers. What is puberty? Puberty is the time when boys and girls become sexually mature. Puberty is the time when boys and girls become sexually mature. That means at that stage, reproductive organs become mature. As we have agreed, this is a time when we see changes coming very fast, taking place in our body going through different changes, and then we have to manage these changes. Another question. Question number 2. When does puberty start? When does puberty start? I need your point of view. When do you think this stage of life is likely to start? Excellent. It can start at around 9 years old, or even slightly before, at the age of 8. And then it can go up to 16 years. From 9 to 16 years, in that stage of life, at that level, we see many changes taking place. Now, as you see on the picture, we can see boys and girls together. They are very happy. They have joined hands, and they are in that stage of life. They have to discuss those changes that take place in life, and even they have to take a very important step of managing the changes which are taking place. Remember, some changes may be physical, others can be emotional, and then we really have to manage them. Because remember, you have set high expectations which are possible to achieve in the future. What do you want to become in the future? Yes, I expect very many answers from you. Some people want to be international business people. Some of you need to be politicians. You need to be scientists, biologists, medical doctors. You need to protect this environment, which is changing day by day. You need to protect animals. You need to protect plants. You need good health. You need good family. You have set very many expectations, and I assure you, you will achieve them. It's possible to achieve them. One way of achieving them is managing this stage of life, which is puberty. Make sure you are not overdriven by the changes. Make sure you don't fall into traps that can make you not achieve your expectations. So these boys and girls were trying to answer the question, when does puberty start? And some said 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, 11 years, or even 12 years. It depends. It varies from one person to another person. Like we have said, puberty is the time when boys and girls become sexually mature. Biological changes take place in the person's body in preparation for reproduction. Remember, organisms have to produce young ones. These young ones can increase population. They are going to replace old ones when they die. And in addition to that, they have to grow up and produce other organisms so that the population of organisms of the same species can increase. Puberty involves physical and emotional changes. There are physical changes we see on our body. Some of the changes you can observe them. Muscles become strong, the widening of the chest, and then emotionally there is how our body drives us. So this stage of life, puberty stage, involves both physical and emotional changes. Some changes can be stressful, but then they're also important because they help us to realize that puberty is a natural process, very important in the development of a person, because we need to grow. Of course, we have to grow, and if we are to grow, we have to go through different stages of life. Puberty occurs at different times from different people, and it has different effects on boys and girls. Like we have said, there are some physical changes that girls go through. There are some physical changes that boys go through, emotional changes that girls go through, and emotional changes that boys go through. Puberty occurs sometimes between 9 to 16 years. Let me hope that at this level, you are able to define the term puberty. Let me hope that you know the age bracket where this stage of life takes place, from 9 years to 16 years. But of course, we have said this varies from a person to a person. Maybe one can start this stage at 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old. Some can even go to 13 years old. It depends on our body. Even the environment can contribute, plus the diet we eat. Now, there you see the diagram. This is a young boy. This is a young girl. But of course, going through the stages of life, you can see after some years, this young boy has grown into an adult man. You can see that this young girl has grown into adult woman. So you can see there are different changes that have taken place, like the hair has grown, growth spurt, beards have grown, even the voice box will change when you are growing. That means the voice that is produced at the age of 6 will be different from the voice a man will have at the age of 25 years. Then we will see those changes. Now, these changes we are talking about, we have what we call primary sexual characteristics. We also have what we call secondary sexual characteristics. So, my question is, how are primary and secondary characteristics different? How are they different? Have you had these changes? Have you had these traits or characteristics? Were you able to manage them? Are you able to observe them from young people growing? If so, if you have managed, if you are able to see them from other people, well and good. You are a very good biology student. You know the value of life because remember, our subject is the study of life. So, when we talk about primary sexual characteristics, those are physical characteristics that indicate whether a person is male or female. What can tell you that this is a man, this is a woman? Which characteristics? And these primary characteristics are present right from birth. Do you know those characteristics that can describe a man or they can describe a woman and they are present at birth? Which ones? Can you give an example? Let me give you an example. External sex organs, the genitalia. External sex organs are present at birth, and they tell us that this is a boy or this is a girl. When we talk about secondary sexual characteristics, that means any physical characteristic developing at puberty, which distinguishes between sexes, but it is not directly involved in reproduction. These are characteristics which appear at puberty stage. Do you remember the puberty stage? And then they are not directly involved in reproduction. Take an example, beards. These come at puberty stage. Remember when you were 5 years old, you didn't have them. Or even now when you are 11, they may have not yet come, but in the future, in the near future, expect them to come. And if you're a girl, you may not see them, but you will see breasts growing. This is part of life. This is very important. And as I have told you, we have to manage this stage of life so that you are able to achieve your future expectations, so that you continue studying, performing well in class without being distracted, your mind being diverted by physical and emotional changes happening to your body at puberty stage. Now, let us see examples of primary sex or sexual characteristics. Body structures that make sexual reproduction possible are called primary sexual characteristics. Here we have ovaries in female. Remember, ovaries are part of female reproductive system. These are the ones which produce ova when there are many, or egg cells, or we can say ovum when it is only one, or egg cell. So ovaries are part of female reproductive system and they produce eggs. Those ones are primary sex characteristics. When it comes to boys, we have what we call testicles or testes, which are part of male reproductive system, and they are very important. Remember, they produce sperms by the process called spermatogenesis. Remember, they also produce a hormone called testosterone, which is very important in determining male secondary sexual characteristics. In addition to those parts we have seen, we have what we call external genitalia. When we talk about genitalia, we mean external sex organs. These ones determine whether a person is a man or a woman, boy or a girl. When we talk about external sex organs, here we can talk about penis for the case of boys, and birth canal or vagina for the case of girls. So those are primary sex characteristics which we find in boys and girls. So are you able to give primary sex characteristics that girls have? Are you able to give primary sex characteristics that boys have? If you are able, well and good. So let's go ahead. Now, we have what we call secondary sexual characteristics, and we have said that these start to appear at puberty stage. That means from 9 years and above. But in addition to that, you have to know that these secondary sexual characteristics appear slightly before in girls than in boys. The average age, they say, for the case of girls, it is 11 years. And then for the case of boys, the average age is 12 years, meaning those whose puberty stage starts at 9, that is slightly early. That is early compared to the average age. 11 years for girls, 12 years for boys. These are the average years. I hope you know what average means in mathematics, or even when you're finding mean in mathematics. Now, male secondary sexual characteristics are very many, and my question is, are you able to give one of them? Can you please give one of the male secondary sexual characteristics? Excellent. Growth of body hair. That is a very good example. This happens at puberty. When you talk about body hair, we talk about underarm hair, underarm. Then we talk about abdominal hair. We talk about chest hair. We also talk about pubic hair. Those grow at puberty stage. Then we also have growth of facial hair. This is another male secondary sexual character. Then another point is enlargement of larynx. Do you know larynx? Larynx. What is another name for larynx? Excellent. Voice box. Or sometimes people call it Adam's apple. And this one deepens the voice. So enlargement of larynx deepens the voice. That's why when it comes to puberty stage, we hear boys starting to deepen their voice. That is a male secondary sexual characteristics. Then increased stature. That means adult males become taller than adult females on average. Then heavier skull and bone structure. Then we have increased muscle mass, and strength. Muscles become stronger. So we see boys having muscles which are becoming stronger. Broadening of the shoulders and chest widen. And then increased secretion of sweat glands and sebaceous glands secrete their secretions. Like sweat glands will secrete sweat, sebaceous glands will secrete sebum. So those are some of the male secondary sexual characteristics. How many have you mastered right now? Excellent. Keep it up. Then you can see from age 9, this boy is 9 years old, then is going through puberty stage, and then at this level, he is 19 years old. You can see the widening of the chest, the shoulders, the chest hair, and the muscles are becoming stronger. That is puberty stage. Let us talk about female secondary sexual characteristics. One of them is broadening and curving of hips. Then we have enlargement of breasts, enlargement of reproductive organs, growth of underarm and pubic hair, menstruation begins, and all these will not appear at the same time for all girls, since the age of puberty varies. Maybe one can start puberty stage at 10 years, another one can start at 12 years, so another one can start at 13 years. So the age varies. It's not the same to all girls, but still, they all have to undergo puberty stage, right from 9 years. Any time puberty stage can start. How many female secondary sexual characteristics have you mastered? Well and good. Now you can see this is from age 7 up to 19. We see different changes taking place. Then development of breasts with age during pregnancy, during puberty happens or takes place. So those are different changes. We have seen primary sexual characteristics. We have seen male secondary sexual characteristics and female secondary sexual characteristics. What causes these characteristics or these changes? We have what we call hormones. Hormones play a vital role, an important role in development of these characteristics. Now, those hormones, we can talk about estrogen, we can talk about progesterone, we can talk about testosterone. That means estrogen and progesterone are common with girls, and testosterone is a hormone produced by males. Now, let us see what happens. Now, this is the brain. Remember, the brain is the organ which coordinates all activities of the body. So it instructs the hypothalamus to produce gonadotrophin-releasing hormone, which is going to instruct pituitary gland to produce follicle-stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. These hormones are going to instruct reproductive organs to produce estrogen and testosterone in males. Estrogen is produced in females, testosterone is produced in males. So when those hormones are produced, they have different effects. Like testes start making testosterone, which is going to stimulate the following: the growth of male sex organs. The sex organs will develop. The testes to make sperm cells by the process of spermatogenesis. Growth of the hair on the face We have seen the hair, the deepening of the voice because of the enlargement of larynx, and the development of muscles in the body. Then, for the case of ovaries, when they start to make estrogen, which will stimulate the following: growth of female sex organs, they grow, start the first menstrual cycle and the first period, growth of hair on parts of the body, like we have seen pubic hair, and so on, growth and development of breasts, and the widening of the hips. Then, does diet influence puberty? The food we eat, does it influence puberty? Girls begin puberty at an earlier age compared to boys. The progression of puberty is affected by nutrition. On the other hand, puberty triggers a growth spurt, which increases nutritional needs. That means boys and girls going through this puberty stage need increase in nutritional needs. Let it be macronutrients, let it be micronutrients. There's need for increased carbohydrates, protein, iron, calcium, zinc, folate have to be provided during this critical period, during this important period of puberty stage. Of course, a person becomes adolescent when puberty starts. Adolescent finishes when you stop growing at about 18 years old. Then we can see young girls at puberty stage trying to manage that stage. Dear students, do you remember what we started with? We defined the puberty. We have seen primary sexual characteristics. We have seen male secondary sexual characteristics. We have also talked about female secondary sexual characteristics. All these happen at puberty stage. Allow me give you homework